Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Today is Wednesday. It's hump day. And it is time for our Wednesday webinar. So let's see who's coming in. I hear that we are expecting a great number of people today. I'm so excited that you guys thought that this topic was so important that you needed to be here and you wouldn't miss it. And so I'm glad to see as you come in the room, please do me a favor and just say hello in the chat and where you're from, where you're joining us from. I'm from Chicago. I'm Sarita, and I'm here from Chicago, Illinois. And we are in the midst of our jacked up weather where we get, some cold days because we're already in fall. Where are you from? Hey, LaRonda. Yes, I love it. Come on in. And we got some people calling in. Fantastic. Hey, Andrea. I haven't seen you in a long time. And Brian. Hey, Brittany. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Emily. Heather. Hey. Hey, Jenny. And Jenny. And Kareen. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Tish. Glad you guys are here today. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Meredith. Glad to see you in the space. Chicago South Side. Who was that on Chicago South Side? Let's do lunch. Hey, Wendy. Fantastic. I'm super excited to see you guys here. We are going to have a fantastic presentation today. And so because we have so many of you guys here already, yay, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So welcome to our Wednesday webinar. This is where we're staying strong and positive for ourselves and our children. You know that we hold these weekly. We hold Monday and Wednesdays. We hold English. And on Tuesday and Thursdays, we do these in Spanish with a different presenter and a different lineup. So we're super excited you're here with us today. Next slide, Andrew. Many of you guys know, and if you're new, for some of you guys, it's a reminder. For others, it may be new information. This is how we engage one another during our webinars. So we love the interaction. We love when you guys are talking to us in the chat. We love bringing you on, on camera if there's when there's an opportunity. And so we will have an opportunity to do that later when we have our Q&A. When you're ready to speak, you can raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. Or if you're in the chat, make sure this is going to everyone. If you don't make sure it's going to everyone, it may just go to the panelists and then nobody will see your great comment. So make sure that that's correctly checked and then be patient with us. We're expecting a lot of people. We'll try to get as many, comments as we can. We may not be able to read the comments because we have a really packed presentation today, but we will definitely, if you put a question in the chat, we'll definitely get to that today, okay? Depending on how many you guys give. Yay! And be thinking about it, right? Write them down someplace. When we get to that piece, then you're ready. All right, next slide, Andrew. These are our agreements, is how we like to create emotionally safe space here at Be Strong Families. And so these are sort of like our cafe agreements wrapped up in a nice little bow. And this is speak from your own experience. So while we're sharing today, you get an opportunity to share. Go ahead and speak from your own experience. Like my experience is this is what happened to me, that kind of thing. Because your experience has value. So you don't need to share somebody else's, share your own. Follow the golden rule and treat other people like you want to be treated. This wraps up all of our cafe stuff. So no judgment here because you can get that on social media, right? So no judgment, don't give advice, all of those things. Just share from your own experience. That has so much weight to it. I can't express that enough. And then the full presence. Look, guys, we know you're here on lunch. We're simply on multitasking. We're really talking about like playing Candy Crush and checking your emails and all that stuff. Because if you do, you're going to miss some fantastic stuff. But if it's lunchtime, so join us while you're eating. We get that, and we want you to be here so that you don't miss a thing. And if you need a minute, take a minute. Got to step away, do that, and then come on back so you don't miss anything that you don't miss any of this rich stuff that's going to be shared, rich information that's going to be shared with us today. All right. And I see the agrees coming across in the chat. I also agree. Yay. I love when people agree to keep the space safe. Cool. Oh no, did somebody say 46 degrees in Pennsylvania? Oh Lord, no. I can We did 60 degrees yesterday and 66, and I was like, oh, with a sweater on and an undershirt. I hate it here. All right, we agree. I think we're good to go. Thanks, Andrew. So today, guys, I'm super excited because our presenter today is a friend of Be Strong Families. We are excited to be able to hold this space for her today. And so today's topic is on empowering sensitive people, how to recognize and support people with sensory processing sensitivity. Our presenter today is Sabrina Rock, who is a coach and consultant, empowering sensitive people, coaching and consulting. Sabrina Rock, PhD, is a transpersonal psychologist, educator, and integral researcher. Her own transformative experience and coming to understand what it means to have sensory processing sensitivity, SPS, was the catalyst for her dissertation research on the transformative experiences of highly sensitive people. Who knew there was such a thing? Dr. Rock has been teaching psychology and women's studies at the university level since 2006, and most recently served as an adjunct professor in the Integral and Transpersonal PhD program at the California Institute of Integral Studies. She also taught an addiction counseling certification program through Allan Hancock College at Lompoc Federal Penitentiary from 2016 to 2020. Dr. Rock is the founder of Empowering Sensitive People Coaching and Consulting. The focus of her current work is bringing awareness about sensory processing sensitivity to those in helping professions so they can better serve their clients and improve their own work-life balance. Super excited to be able to host her today, and I'm just going to turn it over to Sabrina. Sabrina, it's all yours. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here and happy to be sharing this information with you today. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we can get going with the presentation. All right, everyone can see that okay? I hope we're ready to go. Okay. Thank you, Be Strong Families, for giving me the opportunity to bring this information to you all today. I'm very excited about it. And as you heard from my bio, I'm a transpersonal psychologist, a researcher. I'm also a highly sensitive person. And it was my own journey that led me to conducting research on sensory processing sensitivity and seeing how important this topic is, how important it is to really get this information out, especially to people in helping professions, whether you're a social worker, an educator, therapist, counselor, or parent, to recognize sensory processing sensitivity in your children and the people that you serve. So let's go ahead and dive in. Just to give you a little idea of time, this presentation will take about 25 minutes, and then we will have plenty of time for questions and answers. So please put those questions into the chat as they come up, and we'll have a wonderful conversation about all of this when we are done with the presentation. So our agenda for today, we're going to begin talking about what is sensory processing sensitivity. It's something that many of you have probably never heard of. Some of you may have heard of it, but you might have some misconceptions about it. How do you know if you or someone in your life is a highly sensitive person? And then we're going to talk about how being highly sensitive affects well-being and what do highly sensitive people need. There are some benefits to being highly sensitive. So we're going to talk about those a little bit too, and then we'll go into our group discussion. Get to my, there we go. Oops. Went one slide too far. So what is sensory processing sensitivity? This is actually a normal biological trait that about 15 to 20% of humans share. And then about 100 other species also have sensory processing sensitivity. A highly sensitive person is someone who has sensory processing sensitivity. And highly sensitive people are simply more aware of subtle changes in the environment, and they're often more aware of people's emotional states. So we're going to talk a lot more in detail about what that's about. But first, I want to give you an example. You want to think about what this might look like in an animal. Here is a prairie dog. And you can see the prairie dog is up and alert. It makes sense for a small percentage of a population of animals such as this to be more in tune, more aware of subtle changes in the environment. They can then alert the others of danger and keep the whole society safe. This is an adaptive trait, and it's one of the reasons that this is something that is not a disorder, is not something that's wrong with anyone. It's actually a normal biological trait that is shared not only by humans, but by animals. So this wonderful little prairie dog may in fact be a highly sensitive prairie dog that has a very special role in the prairie dog society. So what is sensory processing sensitivity? A highly sensitive person may be introverted or they may be extroverted. There are some who are highly sensitive and are high sensation seeking. They like experiences, they like stimulation. It's not all introverts. However, they may need time alone to recover from being with people or to recover from being stimulated. And highly sensitive people often really enjoy being in nature and appreciate the beauty of things deeply. They feel a deep connection and quite often are very restored by being in nature. Things like being rushed or dealing with stressful situations, deadlines, that can be exhausting. So highly sensitive people often prefer, or they work better at their own pace. Then for a highly sensitive person, not understanding why they experience the world differently other than other people can really make them feel like there's something wrong with them. In the research that I conducted, I spoke to highly sensitive people, and this is something that they all had in common, is that there was this feeling of being different, this feeling of not really moving through the world like other people do, and to different degrees, but that was something that was very common. Being aware of what it means to be a highly sensitive person and learning to adapt to the trait can really be life-changing. Being a highly sensitive person, it has benefits, and understanding how to deal with the overwhelm, how to deal with the more challenging aspects, and then really moving into the benefits of being highly sensitive can be absolutely transformative. So here's something about what sensory processing sensitivity is not. SPS is not a disorder. It's not a developmental disability. It does not cause impairment. It has benefits, and it occurs in 1 in 5 people. So it's distributed in the population. All human beings have some sensory awareness. Highly sensitive people don't have better eyesight or better hearing, but what we have is deeper processing, more internal processings going on in the nervous system. So there are disorders and developmental disabilities that have a sensory stimulation component. However, sensory overstimulation is only one aspect of sensory processing sensitivity, and it can be managed. So how do you know? We're going to do a little exercise. I'm going to show you some pictures, and then I want you to pay attention to your reactions. What thoughts or memories come up? What emotions do you feel? And what do you sense in your body? So as I pull up each image, I'm going to leave it up for about 10 seconds quietly, just to give you a moment to process it, to think about it, and to consider these questions. And then we'll talk about each one a little bit. So here we have a beautiful scene of an ocean, the mountains, the sky, the rocks and the water leading up to it, some birds. It's very peaceful. It's very calming. For a highly sensitive person, this is the kind of place that would be restorative. This is the kind of place that would be peaceful. And while all people can have an appreciation for nature, it's very common with highly sensitive people that they have a bit of a deeper appreciation, or that there's just a sense of healing that can come from being in nature where there's less sensory stimulation, and also very pleasing, pleasant stimulation. So in this picture, you can see that these two people are in love, they care about each other. People with sensory processing sensitivity have a greater sense of empathy, and they can connect deeply, not just recognizing that these two people have feelings for one another, but quite often feeling deeply in their own bodies the emotions of other people. This can be a wonderful benefit of being highly sensitive. Can also be one of the most difficult things one of the most challenging parts of being sensitive, in feeling others' emotions so deeply and not being able to distinguish your own emotions from someone else's. And we'll talk about that a little bit more soon. So friendships. Highly sensitive people tend to have few close friends. They choose to tend to want to have more meaningful relationships and are comfortable having or would rather have like deep, meaningful conversations with people and deeper friendships rather than having a lot of friends and more the shallow friendships. We connect, we really bond, and friendship is very important. Meaningful friendship is very, very important to highly sensitive people. So highly sensitive people are often mistaken for being shy because when they are faced with a new situation, something unfamiliar, they tend to pause and check and take their time to take in their surroundings, take in the situation before they engage. This can be mistaken for shyness or for fear or for not being social. These two beautiful little toddlers are meeting some farm animals for the first time. And for a highly sensitive child, particularly, it's very important to give them the time and the space that they need to engage on their own terms. And you can see the mom is very gently, holding her daughter's hand, and the cow is having a wonderful time licking the baby's head. This is a new experience, and you can see with children how they engage with new experiences and tell a little bit about their potential sensitivities. So while not all sensitive people love reading books, the idea of time alone, quiet time alone, is often very important to people with sensory processing sensitivity. The ability to sort of shut down, not have all of the stimulation, and really restore. So even for people that are very outgoing, very social, very extroverted, if they're highly sensitive, having this time to be quiet and alone is very healthy and very helpful for them. So this kind of a situation, this huge crowd of people, this would be very overstimulating for somebody who's highly sensitive. Not that they can't be in crowds of people, and not that they can't enjoy being in crowds of people, going to concerts and festivals, but this would take more energy. It could be very draining for somebody that's highly sensitive. So now I want you to reflect a little bit on each of these pictures that you viewed. In the first one, could you imagine yourself listening to the waves? Could you easily place yourself in this beautiful space with the ocean? Could you feel the love that was shared between the couple in the photo? Did you get a sense of their connection, their feeling for one another? When you saw the picture of the little girls, did you think about how it feels to be with your own best friend, or how it felt to be a child? The farm animals and the little girls, could you imagine how these children felt meeting these animals for the first time? Or did you reflect on how you meet new experiences? Does being alone in a room full of books sound nice to you? And then compare that to what was your reaction to the picture of the crowd. Most people have some level of emotional response when they look at pictures like these, but highly sensitive people are going to experience empathy at a deeper level. They're going to have their imagination stimulated more easily. There's simply deeper processing that's going on in the nervous system when they are experiencing the world. So the effects of being highly sensitive on well-being. Highly sensitive people can become overwhelmed with sensory information. If it's too hot or too cold, too loud, too bright, too many people, intensely emotional people, being overstimulated can increase stress, and that causes the highly sensitive person, or it can cause them to either withdraw or act out. I want you to think of an example of children in a classroom. There's a lot of stimulation in the classroom. There are a lot of people. There are bright lights. It might be too hot or too cold. There's a lot going on. They have to be paying attention. And they could either withdraw or act out. And how often do we see children withdrawing or acting out? And without the knowledge that they could be highly sensitive, they could very easily be mistaken for having some other issue, or it could be much more difficult to help them. Not realizing that they're just reacting to overstimulation. So this overstimulation activates the nervous system and can cause a stress response in the body, the fight, flight, or freeze. We all know that prolonged stress is harmful to the body and to the mind. Knowledge about sensory processing sensitivity can enable someone to make more informed decisions about their environment and find ways to reduce the stress response. So this is what is key. What do highly sensitive people need? They need to understand that they have a normal physiological trait and that there is nothing wrong with them. And to recognize when they're feeling overstimulated and why they feel stressed. That recognition, that understanding and the recognition, the awareness are really key to the transformative process of being able to really embrace being highly sensitive. They need to know how to differentiate their own emotions from those that they feel from other people. And I talked about that a little bit with the picture of the people who were in love. You can imagine that it is wonderful to be able to share in happy emotions, but can be very overwhelming to have emotions and not understand where they're coming from. Again, an example in a classroom, if you think of a teacher in a classroom who might have started the day feeling fine. And then a classroom, room full of students come in, and the teacher might start to feel anxious or nervous or angry or afraid, and not really have an explanation for why they feel that way, but they're feeling it and not realize that they're feeling, the emotions of the students in the classroom. It's like being in an ocean of emotion and not realizing, not being able to differentiate your own sense of self from that of other people. So having that understanding of what's yours and what's not yours as a highly sensitive person, that can help them to be empowered to say what they need, to make choices about their environment, because they know, they understand what they need in their environment and what's good for them. What are the best choices for them to make for their own self-care? So there are some benefits to being highly sensitive. Highly sensitive people have an immense capacity for compassion and empathy. It allows them to connect with people at a deeper level. Think about what kind of a role, what kind of a job, a career that a highly sensitive person could have with such compassion and empathy. But there are a lot of people who are counselors, social workers, educators, therapists who are highly sensitive because they have this ability to connect and have empathy and really feel with people. And that can be used to help others. Highly sensitive people often have an ability to see things from another person's perspective more comprehensively. This really helps in terms of being able to bridge the gap between groups, to be able to see things from other people's perspectives. And it helps in social justice and activism, really being able to understand what other people experience and to get out of your own assumptions about experience and reality. And they can understand the complexity of situations and be excellent decision makers. So highly sensitive people make wonderful leaders. They make wonderful visionaries. They make wonderful problem solvers. So these are some of the benefits of being highly sensitive. And then I'm hoping there are a lot of questions in the chat. I also have a few questions for the group discussion myself. And these are things that we're going to go into really deeply in the training that's going to be offered on November 9th. What can parents do to support their highly sensitive children? If you think your child is sensitive, what do they need and what can you do? What can highly sensitive parents do to improve their own self-care? It's very challenging to be a parent and highly sensitive, particularly if you're a highly sensitive parent with highly sensitive children. And there are a lot of things, a lot of really simple tools that can be very helpful. What can helping professionals do to better serve the highly sensitive people in their communities? And what can highly sensitive helping professionals do to improve their own self-care and their work-life balance? My dissertation research really provided me with a lot of information about people's experiences around these things. And it's the basis for really the work that I'm doing now. And so if you'd like more information about that, my contact information has been put into the chat. It will be on the Be Strong Families website. And I just wanted to add here that if you'd like more information about my actual research, I would be happy to share that with you. So I'm going to stop sharing now and we can go into discussion.
Wow, Sabrina, that was a lot of good information. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking, first I was like, oh, I'm highly sensitive. Then I was like, maybe I'm not highly sensitive. Wait, I do want to say, immediately when I saw the ocean picture, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember. And it took me right back to a moment. And I totally resonated with everything the connection to emotions and memories on that picture. And I don't know who else felt like this, but as soon as I saw the crowd, I had a strong reaction, like, oh my God, that's too many people. Unless I'm on the stage, that's too many people. But I also think I saw one of my children in there. And I was like, oh my God, they could be highly sensitive. So I guess my question is, and then I think I saw someone in the chat say something about this is where it gets confusing. And I would love for them to expound a little bit on where they saw which part they thought was confusing or where it gets mixed up, because I'd love to hear more about that. I think I heard you say this at the beginning, that there's both introvert and extroverts, right? It can be either or.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Ware talk, because in my mind, it's moving quicker than my mouth, I think. So I'm going to let him talk while I gather my question. Go ahead, Mr. Ware, and then come on in and tell us how to pronounce your name. Welcome.
It's Miss Ware.
Miss Ware, okay. Hi.
Miss Rael. So I just wanted to share, are you guys able to hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great. Definitely, this is amazing research. It's something that I've journaled for more than 20 years. It's so many ways I can come at this, but being labeled altruistic, as I understood that I had previously suffered from PTSD. And so the first thing is some experiences can heighten our sensitivity. Some things that we experience can help us to become more alert and more sensitive to our surroundings and to other people's emotions. And we sometimes call it reading their vibration. We sense the energy and we walk in a room like, I don't like the way it feels in here. The other thing is, being an empath. So I've studied and I've read about the difference between a narcissistic person and being an empath, and being in codependent relationships is so much. This is so deep. my background is psychology, but I'm in child welfare. But recognizing this in myself first, like you said, it can seem confusing because I'm very outgoing, I'm very helpful, but I'm very reserved. I don't have anyone at my home or anything like that. And so even at my workplace right now, a lot of lights, a lot of conversations, people moving around gives me a headache. So I'm not antisociable, but I feel energies. I feel when people are frustrated. So just recognizing that in myself and being honest enough to communicate that in a humble way and not like snapping out. So that's being responsible rather than reactionary while recognizing it. So thank you, and I appreciate this presentation.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story about that. And yes, I didn't even, this short presentation, I did not go into issues of PTSD or childhood trauma or the effects of those things on people who are highly sensitive. There's so much to learn. There's so much to know about being highly sensitive. But what you mentioned about being an empath or being able to just read a room, really deeply feel the energies of other people. And it's a very important piece of being highly sensitive. And again, I could talk about this all day long because it's something that I feel so passionately about, that it's important for people to understand what they're experiencing and why they're experiencing it.
So we have two people with their hands raised.
Oh, great.
And I can't see who they are. Let's see. Can you see? Oh, Mike. Mike, would you like to come on?
Yes, hello.
Welcome. Hello.
Are you able to hear me okay?
We
Yes.
can.
Awesome. I would love some tips on kind of how to, I guess, manage that very connected empathy when you are in, as you said, a helping profession, and you are surrounded by, for example, kiddos that all have very traumatic pasts. They are all, frequently in a very activated state, wondering how to kind of like step back from your own reflection of that and be able to respond appropriately as the person in a helping role, rather than getting caught up in your own being able to empathize.
Right. Oh, excellent question. I believe first it starts with I'll speak for myself. My own state to begin with. Am I rested? Is my physical health okay? I know that when I am in a healthier place, when I'm restored myself, not depleted, I have more of an ability to deal with other people's emotions and not be so affected. Of course, you're not going to be in an optimal state all the time. I don't know anyone who is. So some of the other things that I practice are really pausing and taking a breath, being able to really self-reflect and be aware in a moment of what I'm feeling that's mine, and recognizing that, like, okay, this other person in front of me is reactive. They're going through something, and consciously reminding myself of what is mine and what is my role in that situation. Like, if I can understand them that deeply, that gives me an ability to help them, but not if I'm being overwhelmed by their emotion. So it's a lot of mindfulness, mindful awareness of what I'm experiencing. And then a process of being able to release all of that energy when the interaction is done. One of my friends who's a psychotherapist and has been for over 20 years and is highly sensitive is able to meet with 8 clients a day, one after the other. And I asked him how he does it. And he has a process of really this a few moments of self-care, this process of before he goes into a session, really clearing himself, and afterwards, really clearing himself. It's it takes conscious effort and mindfulness and awareness to be able to not be overwhelmed. And then there's still times when it is overwhelming. So
Sabrina,
Mhm.
can I just want to mention that Michael Brunner also put something in the chat, and then I just wanted to check with him. Michael, it sounds very familiar to what Mike just mentioned. Did what she shared just help you, or do you need to expound a little bit more? So Michael asked, my wife is highly sensitive with a demanding job in the school district, and we have 3 kids. He would love advice on how to help support her. Do you think that you got tips from there, Michael, or would you like more that, I guess? And if you'd like to respond to Sabrina, feel free.
Yeah, really, there isn't the 30-second answer to that question isn't, I don't think, is particularly useful, but I will be sharing things in the training that we're going to do. It's going to be a lot about that. How do you manage all of that energy and stay in a healthy, balanced place yourself?
We have we're going to take one more question from the chat, and then we'll go to Greg because he has his hand raised. Kathy asked, what's the difference between it being an empath and being highly sensitive? And I think someone else also asked that question.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So some people, I mean, the title or the claiming, I'm an empath is really something that's a term that's gotten quite popular in social media. There are a lot of empath groups, and I don't know that all of the people in those groups are aware that there's actually a physiological trait called sensory processing sensitivity. My understanding is that they're pretty interchangeable. An empath and a highly sensitive person, I don't think there's necessarily a difference except in maybe degree. What came out in my research was that there are people experience the intensity of other people's emotions at different levels. So this is hard to give a quick answer on. If you think of it as a continuum, how sensitive people are, and that the top 20% would be considered having sensory processing sensitivity. When we go even higher into the more and more and more sensitive people, I think you get more and more into the very deeply empathic or psychic people. That it's just differences in degree, differences in intensity. Not all highly sensitive people want to say, I'm an empath, and not all people who say, like, I'm an empath, have an understanding of being highly sensitive. But they're not different. I think they're just different labels and different ways to understand what someone is experiencing.
Thank you. Kathy asked, okay, we're going to do this one more for Kathy, and then we're going to go to Greg. She said, you can experience intensity of another's emotions, but as an HSP, choose to turn it off. So it's not like all HSP people are the most kind, compassionate, etc., right?
And that is a wonderful question, a good distinction to make. And this also goes into growing up as a sensitive child, were the sensitivities, were you safe to be sensitive? Were you in a place where you're supported to be compassionate and kind? Or did you need to shut down and turn it off in order to protect yourself? So there are a lot of differences in how people experience their sensitivities based on their environment growing up and their environment as adults. But it is common to just shut down and not feel, not deal with it. I don't think that means that you're not being affected, but that you're really making an effort to protect yourself from all of that overstimulation and overwhelm. And the transformative process of really coming to understand that you're sensitive means that you can be more open and you can find more connection and empathy in an enjoyable way instead of in a really overstimulating and harmful way that drains your energy.
Yeah. Thank you, Sabrina. Greg, you had your hand raised. I love that you guys have all these questions coming for us. I appreciate it. Greg, go ahead.
I think we're in here. Sabrina, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so glad that you are here. Thank you for coming.
You are looking wonderful. I am so happy to see you doing this. And I took part in the gathering of information when Sabrina was going for a PhD. I'm so happy oh man, you cannot imagine. And in case you don't know, she is empathic. She's not just highly sensitive. And I looked at that, it's what's the difference? Everything that's been written out there that's been written has been for sensitive people. And even all the testing that's been done has been on basis of emotions. I have all of the problems of being empathic. I pick up the physical pain, I pick up the mental distress, I pick up all of the garbage. But the difference between a highly sensitive person that I found and an empathic person is this, and you can test it. You walk up to a house that, even your house, and you put your hand on the handle of the door, and you can feel the energy on the inside of the house. You can do that if you're highly sensitive, but it's more prominent when you're empathic. And more than that, you could be walking down the street up to the house and you will already know what the energy of the house is going to be. You don't have to put your hand on the handle. That's just confirmation. The other thing is you're going someplace and a highly sensitive person will get into a situation that's, oh my God, it's overwhelming. I have to go someplace. Okay. And as soon as they get out of that, their energy comes back to them. They can drain. It's all that stuff they've been taking on goes away. And it's easy for them to ground. They simply, walk away and I mean, does nature help? Oh yeah, a lot. And I understand that on those levels, that's when you're dealing with a lot of people or as a therapist, one after the other, after the other, after the other, that's very handy because you can tune in and then you drain and then you tune in and drain. The being super empathic is something that you have to train your body to be it because you're always in the energy, wherever it is. And then when you're going someplace, you could be going to a party, you could be going anywhere, to a friend's house. You already know, if you're empathic, maybe days before you get there, all the things you're going to walk into. Being highly sensitive is a totally different animal because you have to show up. And then you go, oh yeah, I had a sense of this. But being empathic, you're already walking into it.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for weighing in. Loved hearing your perspective. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to say I learned a lot from Greg doing my research, and so I really appreciate you showing up here. And there is so much more that we can learn and try to understand about that, just that question, the empath and highly sensitive, and where is there a distinction? How do you know what you are, and does it matter the label that you put on it or what you're able to do? Just understanding deeply why you experience the world the way you do, and being able to then work with who you are, having more acceptance of yourself and the tools that you need to be able to move through the world more comfortably, instead of being, overwhelmed by it and drained by it.
So
I do
Andrew
see.
asked, okay.
Yeah, I see that. And I'm sorry, I really wanted to make sure that I addressed that. I didn't mean to jump in. So the researcher who really began, developing like what sensory processing sensitivity, really being able to give it a label, is Elaine Aaron. And she and many other researchers have been doing work on sensory processing sensitivity since around 1995. And she has a website called hsperson.com, where you can get so much information. She has documentaries. You can see all of much of the research that's been done around sensory processing sensitivity. So she's really the key person that has brought this out to the world. And it's her site that I would recommend. I also see in the chat, we've got Judith Orloff. She's a psychologist as well, who has a wonderful website. And Dave Markowitz is another who has a lot of information and a website around being an empath, being highly sensitive, and tools. So his work was really important to my own transformation. So that's another place that I would recommend, Dave Markowitz. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew, for dropping those in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Appreciate it. So, Dr. Rock, what do you find to be the most frustrating or difficult part of being an HSP and or having SPS, and how do you respond to these frustrations and difficulties?
One of the most, thank you for that question, Dr. Ramsuza. There is so much that I want to be able to do. And this pace of life, of go to work and go and take care of the kids, and just this, in at least, in our American society, we've got this go, do, produce sort of life. More caffeine, let's go. And that is the exact opposite of the way that I function and the way that I'm happy, the way that I'm healthy. So I think the most challenging thing for me has been to balance my drive and my ambition and my and the needs of my life and my career and my family with the actual energy that I have to spend to do things, and to be able to accept that, to find a pace of life and work that really benefits me, and to be able to function the way that I need to against all of these messages and deadlines that I face in the world. That's been the most challenging thing. And that's really an internal struggle that I am learning about over and over again. Because when I exhaust myself, completing a dissertation, working full-time, and teaching part-time, I exhausted myself completely with all the tools and resources that I have about my own sensitivities. The challenges of life can be very overwhelming. And so being able to step back, take time, say no, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this or go there or meet that deadline. I need to stop and take care of myself. I need to rest. It's that finding that internal balance and being able to really understand what I need and not feel guilty for not being able to do what other people, maybe what I feel that other people are expecting me to do.
Yeah, thank you. We have Stan. Is his hand still raised? And then we have another question in the chat. Okay, because I saw Stan, but I guess he took his hand down. That's fine. Let's see. We had another, I think the question was, how do you parent differently, knowing that you are highly sensitive? Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind first is patience. Being able to have patience both with my children and now my grandchildren, and myself. Recognizing when there's overstimulation and being able to calm, being able to step back, being able to breathe and be less reactive. And really creating an atmosphere where, my children, my grandchildren are supported and safe to be who they are and how they are, and talk about their feelings and feel that they're okay just the way that they are. Having open conversations about the way that we experience the world. I think those are the most helpful things. And being just overstressed makes everything harder. I mean, for everyone, not just highly sensitive people. But really, I think having patience and being gentle with myself and with my family is the key.
Thank you. So this is a loaded question. Stan didn't mean to have his hand up, but he said, how do you avoid stigma around usage of the word sensitive? And also putting the word highly in front of that. It seems so often in society that being sensitive can have this negative connotation. Thank you for that, Stan. And then we'll go back and grab the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Being sensitive is often equated with weakness, especially for, it's not a very masculine thing to be sensitive, to cry easily, to show emotions. I mean, not accepted in our society as the most masculine thing. And even, for feminine traits, it can be seen as a weakness, like you're too sensitive, you cry too easily, you feel too much. Why do you care so much? There can be a lot of stigma around it. And that's why I believe that coming to understand, like, this is something physiological that's going on in the body, and that the self-acceptance of it, and being able to see the sensitivities really as strength, really coming into the benefits of what it means to be sensitive and how powerful it can be, how helpful it can be. I really want to get the word out about sensory processing sensitivity, about being highly sensitive, about being an empath, so that the more people are educated, the more they understand, and we can remove some of that stigma around being sensitive. But it's really going to start internally with your own self-doubt or self-judgment about what it means to be sensitive.
Thank you.
I was going to say, once you can understand it and own it in yourself, like, this is who I am and how I am, then it really doesn't matter what the messages are around you about it. And then you can start to change those messages for other people by talking about it.
Thank you. We have a chat, and then we have a hand raised. So we'll take the chat question. Does being highly sensitive run in families?
That's an excellent question. I don't know that there's been research on, is this genetic? My gut response is yes. I see it in my family. But, the actual research to give evidence to that, I don't know. But I think I've seen it. I definitely see it in my family. So that would be it'd be good research to conduct to find out if it runs in families.
Thank you. So we're almost at time, and see a lot of great comments in the chat. We can probably take one more question. If anyone has one more question, and we'll take that, whether it's online or in the chat, before we close out. Allison, I see your hand raised again. Go ahead. Welcome.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. This has really been informative. I have to say, I kind of didn't know what was wrong with me, but I don't feel that way anymore. There's nothing wrong with me because I can feel, or it seems like I experience what other people feel. So I just want to learn more about how to support people, including myself, or should I say especially myself, and being this way, and look at ways to be able to channel it to be most beneficial, if you can understand me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And that is what my work is all about. What I have now dedicated my career to is helping people like you to understand what's going on, why is it happening, and what can you do for yourself, for your families, for the people that you serve in your community through your work. That is exactly what I'm here to do. And I'm so grateful to Be Strong Families for giving me a platform for this and the opportunity to do training around it, for all of you showing up. It really validates that this is so important for people to know. And I just can't wait to have more conversations with as many of you as possible about this.
Okay, we got one more question in the chat, so we'll take that. Okay, we'll wrap it up in 12:55. Is there a difference between an extrasensorial experience or an experience from being an empath or HSP?
Can you ask the question again? I'm not sure that I quite
Mhm.
for it.
Sure. Okay. Is there a difference between an extrasensorial
Oh, yeah.
experience or an experience in being an empath or HSP? Okay, you
Okay,
got it.
so like having ESP or extrasensory experience, psychic experience, is there a difference? It depends on what researcher you ask. So the mainstream research, like Elaine Aaron, they do not recognize or discuss being an empath, having any kind of extrasensory experience, being it like as Greg was describing, you're walking up to the house and you already know what's going on. That isn't mirror neurons. That isn't, that is a deeper connection, a deeper energetic connection. So yes, there's a connection. Yes, there. I am really trying to bridge that gap through my research to validate these extrasensory experiences that people are having and understand it within the context of what's known scientifically about sensory processing sensitivity. And that's why it was a little bit difficult to answer that question quickly earlier. But if you'll notice, my business name is Empowering Sensitive People Coaching and Consulting, ESP Coaching and Consulting. So it's my little, I don't know, I was being cute or something. But yes, there's definitely a connection and I want to explore that more.
So I just want to say thank you, Sabrina, for bringing this and sharing this great information. For some, I think it's confirming and affirming for some, and new information for others. And we are delighted to be able to share this platform with you or provide this platform for you. And we are looking forward to the November in-person training. So let's go to the next slide. Here it is, all the information. Unfortunately, right now, we do not have an online option. However, if we get a big enough, or large enough interest, this could be something we can explore. So Sabrina is going to debut this workshop November 9th in Pasadena, California. It's an in-person only right now, understanding highly sensitive people. You can use the QR code and you can register today. If you're in the California area, if you're in this area, feel free to use the QR code and register today. We'd love to see you in person. Okay. I see a lot of people saying they want this, Sabrina. I don't know. You need to go online. I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it.
One of the things that we like to do at all of our webinars is we like to amplify something positive. So based on what you've heard today, we are going to amplify #amplify-empowerment. We encourage you to drop a hashtag, an amplify hashtag in the chat. Based on the conversation you heard today or the information you got today, what will you amplify? So we're saying #amplify-empowerment. What will you amplify? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. Believe it or not, those are so encouraging and so inspiring. We see those amplifies, and then we use them for other opportunities throughout the services we provide. So yeah, please #amplify sensitivity, #amplify self-knowledge, self-acceptance. I love it. Keep them coming. Yes, self-care and explanation to others. I love it. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. All right, next slide, Andrew. And this Friday, be sure to join us for a Taste of Cafe. Show me the money, moving from not enough to more than enough. Our Taste of Cafes are held every Friday, hosted by our National Parent Cafe leadership team. If you have not been to one, you got to come to one. It is the best way to spend a Friday afternoon during your lunch. You can come on and get a taste of a cafe because it's only an hour and a half. A regular cafe is a little bit longer. Use the QR code, register today. Don't miss it. It's so much fun. You get to meet people from all over the country, and it's such a great way to de-stress at the end of the week. So Taste the Cafe, join us for that. Use the QR code, register today. Next. And then if you want to know about all of our upcoming webinars, go use the QR code. Do we have a QR code? And register, right? Use the QR code. The chat was hiding. Use the QR code and register for any of our upcoming webinars. We'd love to see you there. You know how this goes. Register today. And if you need a certificate, if you attended today's training or workshop and you'd like a certificate, just contact us. We give those upon request only. And also, I just want to encourage you guys. Sabrina had her information on the slide, but guess what? Sabrina, along with all of our other fantastic webinar presenters, it's on our website. On our website, under our speakers and teachers bureau, you can go there and find information for all the presenters that you've seen, on our webinars. Their information is there. And so if you would like to contact Sabrina and get in touch with her, to ask more questions or to see what she can do for you, go there on our speakers and bureaus page. Andrew, you drop that on the website, and you can find her information there. Okay, next slide. Don't forget, while you're on the website searching for the Speakers and Teachers Bureau, visit our cafe shop. It may be time to stock up on your supplies. Visit the shop, use the QR code, it'll take you right to it. Next slide. Excuse me. And especially if this is your first time, join our YouTube community. We'd love to have you. We are growing that community. We're super excited how much we're growing. And you can help us continue to grow by going to the YouTube community, going to our channel on YouTube, Be Strong Families. You can use the QR code there and subscribing to our channel. Yes. And just like our Speakers and Bureau page where you can find presenters, you can also go to the YouTube page and find all of our past webinars, okay? So if you missed something, they are there. If you missed this one, it's, not if you missed this one, but if you want to share this with someone, feel free to grab it from our YouTube channel and share. All right, next slide. Just want to, again, give a shout out to Sabrina for a fantastic workshop today, and informative, reflective. Love it. Thank you so much for being here and sharing this information with our viewing audience. And a shout out to Andrew for always doing a great job with our tech. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone.